I've been really shy my whole life. But one day I was like walking out to my car after CrossFit and he goes, hey, you're walking different. You're walking like you need to be in jiu-jitsu. And I was like, what does that mean? I was living with a man that beat my ass every single day. Go to jiu-jitsu knowing that when I got back home, it would be another fight. I'm not gonna cry, but if I could go and tell myself something from 5 years ago, it would be like, hang on, you will be okay. All the fighting that you're doing right now, mentally and physically, will make you so much stronger. I would hug her and tell her, like, it's going to be okay. You're gonna survive this.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Be Frank Podcast, episode 28. Today we have a special guest, Mac. She is a purple belt in Jiu-Jitsu. She is a photographer. She's a content creator and much more. I can't wait to learn about, her journey and her jiu-jitsu journey and all the entrepreneurial journeys and all that kind of stuff. So welcome to the show, Mac.
Thanks for having me. This is really cool.
Thanks for coming. And then can you introduce yourself to a listener? I would like to put it in this way. Like if you wanted to have a new website, right? And then you want to put it on the bio or whatever, what your bio would say?
I usually try to make those a joke. Pretty much everything you said. I've been training jiu-jitsu for 8 years. I got my degree in communications with emphasis in photography. All of my video is self-taught. I do a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Seems like that. And then now you have a YouTube channel.
Yes.
And then you have a documentary series. Can you kind of walk me through how did you start YouTube?
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I changed my major 4 times in college because I could not.
Where'd you go?
Oh my God. I went to UCO.
Oh, cool.
And I just could not for the life of me figure out what I wanted to do. I even tried going into the military at one point and I was just like, what am I doing? I landed on communications with an emphasis in photography because I wanted to do as little math and science as possible. And I figured out really early I was bad at all that stuff. So I was like, let me just dive into some sort of art. So I got basically a photography degree with a studio art minor. And I graduated and I was like, what am I going to do with this? I have no idea what I'm gonna do with this degree. Might as well start a YouTube channel. I've been really shy my whole life, and I was like,
really?
Yeah.
I mean, I met you for the first time. I didn't get the vibe of you were shy or whatsoever.
I used to be when I was a kid, I was like, I wouldn't even respond to people when they talked to me because I was so shy and anxious. And but I always had a lot of things I wanted to say, and so that's where my YouTube channel pretty much came from. I just made videos about anything and everything. And right around that time, I also started jiu-jitsu, and so my content kind of went in that direction because I realized that there's so much to jiu-jitsu and combat sports that even though I've only been doing it about 8 years, there's a lot of experience in that 8 years, mentally, emotionally, all that's obviously physically too. But yeah.
So what made you decide to go, oh, I want to train jiu-jitsu today? What made you go to a jiu-jitsu gym?
Well, we're diving right in. So I was actually training CrossFit in the same building as a jiu-jitsu school. And
so it was the same gym, train CrossFit and jiu-jitsu?
Well, I wasn't training jiu-jitsu yet. I was just doing CrossFit. And there was this window in between the walls where you could see what the other people were doing. And I just would look in there all the time what are those pajama people doing? And I was also going through a rough time. My parents were getting divorced, and it was not a clean, fun divorce, what divorce is. But this one was rough for my whole family. And that coach in there, I said hi to him a couple of times, but I didn't train in there, so I only knew him by his first name, and we were cool and stuff. But one day I was walking out to my car after CrossFit, and he goes, hey, you're walking different. You're walking like you need to be in jiu-jitsu. Like you're walking like you need to fight through things. And I was like, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
Like I'm just walking, dog, you
Yeah.
know? But he was right. Like I needed to fight through things. And, I went into jiu-jitsu being like, I can actually like learn to beat people up. And, essentially that when you outside looking in, that is what it looks like, but I learned really quickly that it's not so much about like the armbar or like the triangle. It's like the mental stuff that you go through whenever you go in there, like really pushing your body past its limits and like going when you don't want to, and like rolling mad, rolling sad, it's just, it became so much more to me than anything that I've ever done in my life, like very, very quickly.
What was the process like? So like your coach said you're walking like you needed jiu-jitsu, right? Mm-hmm. Like what was like a first when you started? Did you had that moment of like where you just like going there try to like choke people out or whatever, and then like did you get to a certain point of like oh, my mental is shifting? Like did you have those moments? Or
I definitely did. It seems like so long ago, honestly, but at white belt, I was very angry. Like I was a very angry, like early 20s person, and just because it was it goes broader than what I'm explaining it as, but at this point in my life, like everything I'd ever believed in, my family life was like crumbling right before my eyes, and all I had was jiu-jitsu. I was even living in my car during this time. Like,
really?
Yeah, I worked at a gym right around the corner from my jiu-jitsu gym, and I would go to work there, like shower there, go roll, and then like sleep in my car. So at white belt, it was a lot of like mentally taxing things that happened to me. And so I felt a lot of like mental and emotional shifts, but I didn't realize what they were until I got a little bit like further in my jiu-jitsu journey and a little bit older as well. Like I just didn't realize how much it was changing my life until like, honestly, now that I'm 30 and I'm 8 years into this art, it's like, I didn't realize how much it was changing my life while it was changing my life. So it's really cool to be able to like look back and just not even really recognize the person I was 8 years ago in like the best way possible. Like
how so? Like mentally, or like you used to fought on like be angry at the people, or like what is the change like 8 years of this journey? So
it's been a really like rough journey, honestly. So like what changed was like my mindset going into the gym. So like I said, I was a little bit angry whenever I first started. When I started rolling more and realizing I can't roll like that, like I'm getting hurt and I have to take days off because I'm hurt because I rolled angry, it just, that slowly changed into, I need to do this for like relaxation. I don't need to do this to like go in and like choke people and beat people up. I need to do this as like a, when I come in here, this is the only thing I'm focusing on. And this is the only thing that I need to think about right now in this moment in time. So it just progressed into like something that I like to do for fun, something that's really relaxing to me, which is why being in the right gym is so important for this as well. Like if you can't go in and like have a relaxing time if your like coach is insane, you know what I mean? Or like the people are always trying to like actually hurt you, So it changed it was really my perspective that changed over time, like jiu-jitsu does change, but essentially it does stay the same. It's really like the person and the individual and their mindset of how it will change for them.
That is awesome. And then you say you move around the gym too, right?
Yes. Like the gyms that I've been to and trained at. Yeah. So, my first gym, I got a really good base from there. It just ended up not being for me. The coach's style ended up not being for me. It goes back to that like mental and emotional change that I was talking about. It's like sometimes you grow out of people and you grow out of a gym, and that was what happened with my first gym. And I moved on and I trained under Kevin Williams for like three and a half years. I got my blue belt, and then, you know, I started shooting my docuseries, Little Grapplers, and it essentially just focuses and highlights kids in jiu-jitsu and like how jiu-jitsu can be good for them, like why they should be in jiu-jitsu and martial arts as opposed to like soccer, you know?
Yeah.
And that project soccer. Not dogging on soccer. I just wasn't good at it. And you know, when you're dealing with kids and stuff, you want to make sure that you have a good face, you know, whether that's like me as the director or the docuseries itself. And the gym that I was at currently, not Kevin's, there's 2 different locations, but I just didn't feel like that kids program really showcased what I wanted to show about kids jiu-jitsu. And because of that reason, I was asked to leave. And I think that was the best decision that they made and that I made, because I really, after leaving my first gym, I really felt like, you know, leaving that first gym did not go well. And I thought, like, is it going to be like this? Like, every time? Like, am I stuck at a gym when I go there? Because that was hell on earth. But then I got welcomed into Redline under Ty Gay, and he was just an amazing professor to be under. I learned so many things under him. Like, a lot of my jiu-jitsu got corrected. Not like it was like wrong, but there's just so many different ways to do things. They were also like a big, they were really big advocates of like mental health and, more like the self-defense side of jiu-jitsu, rather than competition jiu-jitsu. And, I'm not a big competitor, so that was the direction that I wanted to go, really. And then, you know, after about 2 years, I ended up in Colorado Springs, and now I'm training at a Renzo Gracie school. I'm one of their instructors. I teach the early morning classes, and that's kind of how I got where I am today. And moral of the story is it's okay to leave.
Yeah, there's like a lot of like it's a fine line of being like a loyal to someone or loyal to some gym, and then but like if it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. And then some people like try to force something it's not there, you know what I mean? Like so like in your case you moved around and it seems like you had a different life, and I believe like people change. And then like changes is in the only thing in life is a constant, if that makes sense. Yeah. So like I thought like that was a cool things that you move around the places, but that those places probably serve the purpose at the right time in the right place, maybe.
Absolutely. Yeah. And just like you said, like you can't force things. It's kind of like in a role itself. Like if you're going for something and it's not working, don't dwell on it. Like move on. And you can do that. It's allowed. Like otherwise you'll get stuck like in bottom side control, figuratively. And then you're just like, well, how did I get here? It's because you held onto something for longer than you should have. And the last thing that I want to do in life is like have regrets or feel stuck. And I have had some regrets and I have felt stuck before. And, you know, now I just turned 30. I don't want to be there anymore. So it's just adapt and change. You know? That's
super ironic, right? Because like jiu-jitsu, if you're in the bottom, you know, if you're going one way, it doesn't work, and just go other way, you know?
Exactly. Sometimes it's just as simple as going the other way.
So I think it's funny. But I'm curious, like a Little Grapplers, right? That documentary series, like what made you, because you could document some like you know, competition athlete, or you could document yourself, you could document anything, right? What made you decide to highlight kids grapplers?
Well, when I was a kid, I really wanted to grapple. And my biological mom was like, you're gonna be a lady, and she put me in ballet and like cheerleading, and
Really?
that was, and I didn't not like it. I wasn't like great at it.
It was like a soccer.
Yeah, like soccer. It just, I don't know. I also am one of those people that like, if I can do it myself, I will do it myself. And so like team sports really were not for me, because I was like, what are you doing to like my teammates? And I'm like, clearly you should be doing this. So it was a lot of factors of like, I wanted to fight. My dad was also a fighter. I didn't really like team sports very much. And so when I stumbled on like jiu-jitsu, I realized like, oh, I can be a part of a team while also working on myself. I wish I learned that earlier in life. And so I really started Little Grapplers to show that you don't have to go through this lifelong journey of trying to find something that's for you. There's a lot of things that I wish I learned as a kid that I learned as an adult. And I feel like I could have learned that in jiu-jitsu. And so I started this docuseries to showcase kids in jiu-jitsu that, you know, maybe they're not necessarily the best. Maybe like I just did an episode on some kids that are like really high level competitors, but I also did.
Is that Jet?
Yeah, Jet and Parker. Yeah. Great kids. But I also did some earlier episodes with some kids that like, you know, they win sometimes, but they don't win every time.
Yeah.
And it's just, and I feel like that's more real to show and try to convince parents to get their kids into jiu-jitsu. Like, it's not about the win. It's not about that $7 medal.
Yeah. It's
about like learning how to speak up for yourself. Like in jiu-jitsu, if you don't speak up for yourself, you're lost, you're stuck, you're going to get hurt. And that can translate into school. Like if you learn to speak up in an extracurricular activity, then you can learn to speak up in a classroom and be like, I don't understand this.
So is this documentary series meant to parents to be seeing the other side of perspective, or like you showing to the kids?
I do interview the kids, but you know, interviewing kids goes about how like you think it would go, you know?
Like whenever I started doing like a commercial and video production, like my mentor told me like, do not work with kids or pets. So about you,
he's not wrong. It's and you know, I ended up interviewed a lot of kids that didn't make it into an episode.
Probably.
Like it's like sorry, but like they said too much on camera. Everything they said sounded like a robot, you know. And it's like, let me just come back to you in a couple years, see if you're a little bit more relaxed. Yeah. And you know, it's not like it's like an easy thing. I have a camera in your face and asking you personal questions.
Let's put that microphone to
sorry.
Yeah, no worries though.
And it's not like it's easy to do for a child. Like I remember one time I tried to be interviewed as a kid and I just started laughing. Yeah. I don't remember what it was for, but I was just laughing a lot. And so with kids, it's like there was this one kid I interviewed. And I said, why? I was like, do you make friends in jiu-jitsu? And he goes, no, because I'm better than everybody else. I was like, well, I can't put that in. So
why not?
He just seemed so
cocky.
Yeah. And I just didn't want that. Like I said, you know, like whenever you're doing a project with kids, you want to have like your best foot forward, your best face on. And it's like, if I put that in, then it's like parents will be like, well, I don't want my kid to be cocky. I want them to be humble, you know, and that's all you can really want for your kid, you know, like, you know, some people do want their kid to be cocky so they can be confident, but there's a difference between cockiness and confidence.
Right.
So
I think it's like, I mean, that kid, I think if you follow that kid for like a little bit, a long time, I think that kid will be humble at some point.
Exactly.
You know,
yeah.
And then maybe you can make a longer docuseries of like a throughout the year kind of deal of that kid. Like, cause I feel like jiu-jitsu or combat sports or anything like that. Like I heard like learning a new things like ultimately takes like 20 hours. And then like it's like an effort thing, right? Like if you put like 80% of effort, you'd be like kind of like good. Then, but if you put another 20 hours, it's maybe for the 5%. So my point is kind of like whenever you start learning like kickboxing or fighting or even soccer, like then first one and they become cocky, like they might have a little talent, all that kind of stuff, and at some point they hit plateau. And then how they deal with that plateau is that you're gonna be great or you're gonna be just little cocky little shithead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So maybe that's some things that I think that jiu-jitsu have so much potential to teach kids and to teach adults and teach anybody that, yeah, you're a white belt. Yeah, you might learn some moves and then you can do that to, friends and cousins or whatever, right? And then whenever you go to
at parties,
yeah, like let
We're
me
all
show
guilty.
you how to hit lock,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Then like, well, that's cool, but like when you roll with like some like actual people, you can't do anything, and you have to overcome those stuff, right? I think that's a lesson we learn, or that's a lesson jiu-jitsu teaches. So I thought that'd be interesting. Even that cocky little kid,
Yeah. And there are like, he's one of them I want to revisit. Like he's not one that I wasn't like, okay, well, absolutely not. You know, I just feel like he needed to like maybe mature a little bit more and get humbled, you know, not like in a bad way. Like the kid needs to be humbled, like, like he was good, know, but, and then there's another kid, that was one of my very first students. His name is CJ, and I've actually interviewed him 4 separate times, because every time he was not ready. And every time he sounded like whenever you type into a computer and then you ask the computer to repeat it out loud, like it's talking to you, that's what he sounded like. And so I think he's 13 now, and I'm going to revisit him and that one kid I told you about. And it's just like, sometimes they're not ready to be on camera that young. My very first episode was about a girl named Elisa, and she's 9, and she was coaching like 4 of the classes at her gym. One of them was an adults class. She would run them through the warm-ups. She was great on camera. So it just depends on the kid, know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I do want to revisit some of the kids that applied. I had an application process, and it's just something that I feel like I can keep doing. And especially with Jet and Parker, like Jet just turned 16. I want to revisit him when he turns like 18 or 20 and just do like a little mini one on him and be like, where do you think you are now from when you were 15 when we shot this episode? So that's why I wanted to do a series on children, because you can watch them grow up in front of a camera and watch their jiu-jitsu change and watch how jiu-jitsu changed their lives. So I just think for being kind of cheesy and cliche, like kids really are the future, and they are the future of like this country and this sport. And if you highlight the right ones, I feel like other kids can be motivated and inspired.
I think that's awesome things, and I love that. I respect so much about what you're doing, because I'm just here. Look at me doing this shit.
This is really cool.
But why do you think that, I think it was like kind of funny, but why do you think jiu-jitsu is better than soccer?
Are you a soccer player?
No, I'm not.
Okay, I was like, I'm so sorry.
No. I don't play soccer at all.
I mean, I tried soccer as a kid, and it just... I don't want to sound like I'm dogging on soccer or like other sports, but with jiu-jitsu, it's a lot of mental things. Like you have to be like 16 steps ahead of another kid. And I'm not saying that you can't be that way in soccer. I played for the YMCA when I was 8. Like, what do I know about soccer?
Yeah.
But I personally didn't take anything from it. Like I was just running up and down a field on a Saturday, and I was hot, and I just wanted a Capri Sun, But with jiu-jitsu, it's just like, even as an adult, like I started when I was 23, and even as an adult, I have just learned so much more in just this art and sport than I did doing ballet and cheerleading, soccer, basketball, all that stuff. So and I just feel like jiu-jitsu is more centered on learning to calm down, and I feel like it helps a lot with like ADHD as well. There's just a lot of reasons why I like whenever I have kids in the future, I definitely want to put them in martial arts as opposed to like basketball. Or like if they want to do basketball, cool, but I just feel like there's more that you can learn in martial arts than regular sports.
Yeah, I think martial arts, I mean, like it's particularly jiu-jitsu has a lot of different aspects than different sports. For me, jiu-jitsu has a class and a drill, right? And then like you learn something new, kind of like a small technique, small different like a small things is kind of important, like not kind of like very important, right? Like even like you doing triangle or something like that, there is like so much different way to get there, and then you learn on the drill, and then you learn something new, and then you try it out, but also you get humbled by a lot of people every time. But also like soccer, I play baseball growing up.
Nice.
But like it's kind of like baseball practice is kind of routine, right? Like every day is kind of Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we do same thing. You know, maybe one day like we just do a little bit different things. But I think jiu-jitsu is very, very different. I think like it's because you do kind of different things every day.
Yeah.
And then you kind of get, it's almost like lifting weights or something like that is kind of like part of weightlifting or something. Then that you build muscle over time. So you kind of like gain that. But jiu-jitsu is kind of almost like collecting knowledge.
Yes.
And then like there are a lot of tools in the tool belt, and if somebody tried to like triangle you or something like that, I'm like, look at this shit, you know, I have this stuff to like, you know, maybe like that's why it's like a little bit strategic, and there also like so many tools, so many different ways to do it. Maybe that makes people think a lot harder, and then maybe that's why people get so into jiu-jitsu. I don't know.
I would completely agree with that, honestly. It's really it's also one of the only sports that like you can get into in like your 50s too.
Yeah.
Because like were you an athlete? You just said you played baseball, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's also harder to make friends as adults as well, and especially if you've been an athlete your whole life, it's like you're a part of a team every day for years, and then all of a sudden you're not anymore, and then you're like, what do I do besides tell people about my ACL injury that hindered me from going into the NFL, you know? And so like, for example, in my morning class, I had a 78-year-old come in named Bill for 3 months, and he kept up, wanted to do everything. Like, he killed it. And I kind of lost my train of thought here, but because there's just so much, but it's there's just so much that adults can take from this as well. And I've just learned so much from this. So
what do you think about the people like talk about stigma to female doing jiu-jitsu or female doing combat sports, or being like aggressive, like a jiu-jitsu is aggressive? What would you say to that?
I don't think aggression is necessarily a negative thing. You know, being a woman in like a male dominated sport, it's like kind of have to be aggressive. And that doesn't mean that we're mean to everybody. It just means we can be aggressive in the slowest way possible with jiu-jitsu. Like, there have been so many times where I just like, I'm being smashed by somebody who's just giant. And because I know the right way to grip, I can just like sneak a collar choke real quick and then they're done, you know? And so it's, I don't really think aggression is necessarily a bad thing. And it does kind of make people leave me alone too, which I kind of like if I'm out with friends and somebody's being creepy to us, I just mention that I do jiu-jitsu, and they either get really weird about it and they're like, oh, I don't want to mess with you. And I just get really serious and I go, no, you don't. You don't. And I don't laugh. I just keep eye contact and they just leave eventually.
Yeah.
So I like to think of it as like a positive aggression, and it's given me a sense of like confidence too, to where like even if you're bigger than me and you're trying to like take me somewhere that I don't want to go, they're going to know it was you because I'm going to scratch your eyeballs out, you know, or there's going to be a bruise on your neck from me trying to choke you with your clothes. So just even that confidence of like, I can fight back or I'll be found. Just little things like that, to where I feel like that stigma doesn't even necessarily need to be a bad thing.
That is awesome. I think a lot of comes down with the confidence, and then some people who really don't have a confidence cannot do that, you know what I mean? Like to that, like you have to work around. So I think that's certain things that, you know, a lot of people, like especially kids and stuff too, like walking around school, then I think if they know they can protect themselves, I don't think they will be bullied or something like that to show other people to do that stuff. But so whenever you're doing the documentary series, before that you were doing YouTube, and then you have like 5,000 subscribers and stuff, right? Yeah. So like I was like, I thought that's cool. Like I'm trying to get where you're at and all that kind of stuff on the YouTube and stuff. Like, what was that journey? Like, did you try to like make it like to like a YouTuber, like make a living, or?
I did try for a little bit. It's very competitive because it's a website where anybody can have a camera and anybody can upload anything. So it's like, what do I have to offer to where people are going to want to watch me regularly, you know? And I just stopped caring about the subscriber count, honestly. I just like I said earlier, before we started talking or recording, I just was a shy kid and I had a lot to say, and I was just like, you know what, can I cuss?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, you know what, like fuck it, I'm just gonna put this out there, and if people watch it, cool. If not, I'm getting video editing experience, I'm learning about lighting, I'm learning about cameras, because I got a photography degree. Everything that I've done with video is self-taught completely, and that's so I tried to make a living from it. I did get a small check every once in a while, but overall, like the goal wasn't really to like be a YouTuber. It was just for my own self of like, I've had so much to say my whole life, but I've been too anxious and too shy to do it. And so I'm like, I'm just going to put it out there. If people watch it, cool. But if they don't, then at least I had the confidence to say my opinion on the internet and in a video format and post it. So it was really just for me.
For you? So like, what it does to your, is that like kind of like a journal stuff? Like you just putting out there, like, or like does that make you feel good like after doing it? Or like my question is like, you document yourself. I've been kind of doing that, documenting myself, and then, you know, people who watches it, that's cool, whatever. But like, if I document it, like I can't look back and then watch it later. I think it would be cool. Like what is most like, I don't know, like what drives you to still make content? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, at first I wasn't really doing like jiu-jitsu content on there. I was just like telling stories from college, like of like the first time I was at a party and the cops got called, or like the worst date I ever had, you know? And it just kind of progressed into jiu-jitsu. Right. And sorry, can you repeat the question?
What did I ask? I was like, what drives you to make the content still?
Yeah. So honestly, making people laugh was my main driving force, because like I said, it was like my stories from college. And so I just wanted to make people laugh with the ridiculous things that have happened in my life. Like some of the stories on my YouTube channel are like, I can't believe that happened. And so it went from wanting people to laugh to like, I can make this about jiu-jitsu and make people learn Like one of the videos I made was with the owner of Gaidama. She does all female no-gi jiu-jitsu gear, and it's some of the best gear that I've ever worn. I did a video with her about like how long you can train jiu-jitsu while you're pregnant. She was pregnant at the time. She also invented the very first maternity spats ever. So that was one of the videos that I did.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was like what drills are safe to do when you're pregnant. And I learned that you can train up to 7 months when you're pregnant, which is crazy to me. Like, women are so badass. Like, you're growing fingernails and you're out here like in neon belly. That's crazy.
You can't neon belly 7 month pregnant lady.
No,
right?
she's neon bellying other people. Yeah, that's one of the main drills. And so just like putting out information on there that otherwise people wouldn't have even thought about, like because I'm one of those people, like, just for example, like jiu-jitsu and pregnancy, like I always was just like, let me get my brown belt, like, get away from me, boyfriend, before we can even like think about having kids or anything. But then I was like, well, I don't need to slow down when I'm pregnant and doing jiu-jitsu. Like, I can still keep doing that. And I feel like that's information that like other women need to know. Like, your life doesn't have to stop whenever you're having kids. Your training doesn't need to stop whenever you have kids. And then, you know, I also had Jordan Patrick on my YouTube channel. She's a black belt at Triton in Tulsa, and she had a lot of information to say. And so it just went from trying to make people laugh to giving information that I just feel like is important, but people don't think about.
Love that. What's the most important lesson you learned from doing this content journey?
Oh man, the most important thing that I've learned is that if you don't do a move right, everybody will tell you on YouTube. Everyone will let you know. They'll be like, you didn't put your foot there. And I'm like, I'm learning. So it was just, it seems so insignificant, but just like attention to detail. Like, it helped me be like, oh, well, that's in the background, move that. Or the sliding would be better over here. So maybe it's not necessarily my own content that I learned from. It's just like, you know, video production is a lot. And I learned a lot about that stuff.
Yeah, so. Video production a lot, you know.
Just a little.
Yeah, we have 3 different cameras today. I don't know how it's going to look good, but, you know, hopefully we will.
I believe in you guys. I looked at your channel before I came.
Oh, thanks. But, yeah, like you're talking about, you know, like an awful date, like experience or whatever, right?
Yeah.
What do you think about people who date the gym partners?
Man. I've actually done that before.
Really?
And it didn't go very well. It's kind of like when people say don't shit where you eat.
Yeah.
Like, don't date people that you roll with. Definitely like find a like-minded person. Like, if you also want to date somebody who trains jiu-jitsu, that's great. I would just highly recommend don't do it in your gym, because, you know, I dated this guy and it was just so insane. Like, when he got his blue belt, he became insufferable.
What do you mean?
Like, I remember this one time specifically, like, he had his blue belt for like 5 minutes, okay? Like, it was the day after he got his blue belt, and we were in class, and we also lived together too, so it was just like a lot. But I asked a guy who had been a blue belt longer a question about a move, and when we got home, my boyfriend at the time was so mad at me. He was like, I outrank you. You need to respect my belt. You need to ask me questions. And I was like, first of all, relax. You've been a blue belt for 2 minutes, okay? Yeah. Like, not like I don't respect your belt, but like, don't come at me like that.
Yeah.
And then the one time he did something to me on the mat that made me angry. When we got home, he was just like, you need to leave that on the mats. I was like, okay, Karate Kid, chill out. Like, this is real life.
Yeah.
You know, like, if you treat me bad on the mats, I don't just automatically forget about it when we get home.
Yeah.
So it's just like those examples of things of just like, and then whenever we broke up, he was like, well, I'm not leaving the gym. I said, well, good luck, because I'm stubborn and I'm not leaving either. And it just became like an awkward thing. So I would highly recommend to not. Sometimes it can work out. Like at Redline, it was run by a husband and wife team, and that was great. I loved having a strong female coach to look up to and to have a good example of a couple on the mats. So it is possible. It just wasn't possible for me. So that's what I have to say about it. Just make sure you just choose the right person, you know, like in everything else.
Yeah, and then like it's also like, you know, like it's like depends on person. I don't know like your take on it, but like some girls or like some guys say, hey, if you go to gym, like even like a lifetime of us or whatever, right? And then like don't hit on girls, right? Or like don't do whatever. But some people meet, you know what I mean? At the gym. But like jiu-jitsu stuff, like isn't that weird to hit on girls at the jiu-jitsu gym?
Yeah. It's absolutely like really, really weird because it's like we're already in positions that can be suggestive if like I don't even really want to say that either because like I don't even think about it anymore. Like when I first started, I was like, you want me to go in between his legs? What do you mean?
Right.
I just met him 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just really weird to flirt with people in a jiu-jitsu setting, especially if you train with them, because it's like, I'm going to see you on Thursday. Right. Like, this is weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you also run into the whole, like, sometimes your partner at home who doesn't train doesn't want you to go to jiu-jitsu because you train with men. Yeah. You know, I had a partner like that. My ex-husband was like that. And we got into a lot of fights about it. Yeah. So, you know, like I said, just choose the right person, choose the right gym, make sure no one's creepy. Yeah. Because that you can run into that as well. Yeah. So
that's hard too, right? I mean, like it just, you know, like my girlfriend, like she doesn't really like violence in period. Mm-hmm. So like she doesn't really, you know, it's like understand, but she's cool with like, you know, rolling around and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's cool. I think it just depends on who you're with and your trust and, you know, level of the trust and, you know, like set out the boundaries and all that kind of stuff. The reason I wanted to bring this up, this would be a good short content, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also like, you know, I see so many like, I don't know, that people at the gym kind of like dating and all that stuff. So I'm like, that's cool, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, I have nothing against it, but like I was curious like what your like, you know, point of opinion was.
Yeah, my only comment on that is good luck and I hope it works out, you know? Like I never want anybody to like go through a bad time. It's just like it's risky. Yeah. And that's, I don't know, a lot of gyms that I visited too have like a no dating policy, which you know, that's kind of iffy on its own because it's like, I don't work for you. I pay to go here. Like, it's kind of my business. Yeah. But I don't necessarily disagree with it because it can create such a hostile environment if they break up and they stay and then like people feel like people feel like they need to choose sides as well. Cause you know, like even though that's a girl, like that's your homie, you roll with her, but that's also your homie, you know? And then he's saying something, she's saying something about the other one and you're in the middle and
and then jiu-jitsu community or like even like a martial art gym is like such a small, close team oriented group and the camaraderie. And then at the end of the day, it's an individual sport, but we train together, we kind of cry together, we get strong together. So I think it's just kind of awkward when that happens.
Yeah, it's like these people become like my brothers and sisters, and I'm like, I don't want to look at you like that. Like, get away from me. So like even at my current gym in Colorado, like I haven't felt like a family with a gym in a really, really long time. I want to even go as far back as my very first gym. It felt like a real like tight-knit family. But with this new gym that I say new, but I've been there for like 2 years now. it really does feel like a small, like, knit family. I see these people all the time. It's a smaller gym, which I prefer. I get to know everybody, like, even all their kids are in the classes too. So, yeah, it's about environment. Like, and you mentioned trust earlier too. It's like when you walk into a jiu-jitsu gym, you trust that these people are going to take care of you. You don't expect to go in there and like get your neck broken or like your wrist broken. You know, accidents happen, but, you know, it is about trust, and that includes like trusting your coach to even do something as small as believe in you. You know, because if you don't have a coach that like believes in you, why am I here? Why are you telling me how badly I'm fucking up when you should be telling me how to fix it? So it's about environment and trust, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, believe and trust, I mean, it's a fundamental, but it's hard to get sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So whenever you're saying like, you know, my friend was telling me about you, and then she speaks very highly of you, and then saying that, you know, you had a regular job before, but also like since you leveled jiu-jitsu, you wanted to have like free time in jiu-jitsu, and you still wanted to do the content of photography, so that you kind of quit the whatever the job was, and then did the photography things for jiu-jitsu. You shoot for AGF and stuff too?
I did. I shot for AGF for about 4 years, and that was one of the best jobs I've ever had, honestly. We ended up going our separate ways because we couldn't like agree on some stuff, and the travel was just becoming a lot. I was gone every single weekend. But great people, great coworkers. They run excellent tournaments, and they, you know, we have our differences currently. But Brandon Quick is one of the owners of the company, and he honestly gave me an opportunity to have a very niche career that I don't think anybody else would have given me the opportunity to have. And it's also like, it's jiu-jitsu photography. It's very niche. Like, I don't know, you know, there's Naga also, but like there was something about working for Brandon that was very special, because he knows what he's talking about. He runs really good tournaments. He makes sure everybody's taken care of at the tournament as well. So, and I got to see America, which is really cool. You know, I'm from Oklahoma. I didn't really get to see much. And so, but I haven't even counted, but I think I haven't been to Alaska. I haven't been to Hawaii. And I don't think I've been to Kentucky. I've been pretty much all over because of that job. And so it was really cool getting to like travel, while also doing jiu-jitsu and also doing photography.
So you were traveling around and you were training like at every gym?
Whenever we got the chance, if we were in town for longer than like a day and a half, we would definitely go hit up a local gym and train. Awesome. It's so cool. And I got to train with some of the biggest names in jiu-jitsu. I got to interview some of the biggest names in jiu-jitsu. Just some of the coolest people I've ever met. So, it was a great job, honestly. Yeah.
What is the tips to take good jiu-jitsu photos?
Follow the top of the head.
Follow the top of the head.
Follow the top of the head. Get at ground level and follow the top of the head, because that's going to be your bread and butter. Otherwise, you're just going to get ass shots. And it's like, okay, cool. You know, like if you're doing a sweep that looks really cool, I guarantee it's going to look so much cooler from wherever the top of the heads are. So that's your perspective point.
What do you mean top of the head?
Like literally forehead or the top of the head. So wherever the head is moving, follow it.
So like you have a lens, they're moving, just you follow the head.
Follow the head.
But like you're on the ground level.
Ground level, follow the head. Don't shoot down.
Yeah.
Literally, there's so many pictures of me doing my job at AGF where I'm belly down with my camera getting the shot. I very rarely got shots like standing up. I always made sure I was either sitting or on my stomach. So for anybody pursuing jiu-jitsu photography, get on your stomach and shoot. Like, and I got to the point where I was even like training other photographers that worked for AGF, and I would tell people all the time, I'm like, not to be picky, but I know you didn't get on your stomach to take this picture. Like, this looks like it's taken from like behind a table. There's like the corner of a TV scoreboard in it. Like, basically do better in like the nicest way possible. So that would be my advice, is to just follow the head, get at ground level, like, and it also helps to train a little bit too. So they understand what's coming next and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Like, I mean, like, I have a couple video shooters and like editors in house, and I train them. And then like sometimes a lot of young guys and young shooters, like, they try to film everything from their point of view and then their heights and their level. So I just, you know, maybe Stage is laughing right now, but I just tell them to like get on the eye level, get on the nose level. If you're filming podcast, but my lens is my nose level. You know, it's not like 6 foot, you know, like 5'8" or whatever, looking down. I'll call it, that's like a broadcasting framing, and it just don't look good. If you want to be cinematic, and if you're filming small little things on the table, you can film it like this, or either you can be over, like, you know, over bird's eye view from, you know, that angle, clean, or just get onto that subject level, shoot it. Looks so much better, you know. So honestly, I totally agree, but I didn't do too much sports photography, so I'm gonna use that if I'm gonna shoot somebody. Honestly, feel free. It's funny because when I was in school and getting my degree, I was actually going towards fashion photography. Really? Yes. And I realized I absolutely hated it. I was just like, I'm just taking pictures of clothes. Like, and I didn't have any desire to shoot sports photography whatsoever. But it's so stupid. And if my old professor watches this, he's going to send me a message and laugh at me. But I had to take this ridiculous class. It was iPhone photography. It was only offered once because they wanted to introduce it into the photo program to see if it was going to be beneficial. And they never brought it back. I'm one of the only people that have ever taken that class. iPhone photography class. And I had like an iPhone 4 at the time. And I was like, what am I going to do with this? You know, I was just so frustrated because I am one of those people that's like, put your phone away. If you hired a photographer, let them do their job. But one of the projects we had to do in that iPhone class was shoot a mini documentary. Really? And I had just started jiu-jitsu at the time, and I was there all the time. I was either in school, in class, or at jiu-jitsu. And so I was like, well, let me just see like what happens. Like, let me just see what I can do with this. And I went in there and I shot a whole mini documentary with my phone, and I fell in love with it immediately. Like, there was no point of return at that point. Like, I just wanted to keep doing that. And then like a week later, I went to my first AGF tournament and I saw the photographer there. I was like, I want to do that one day. And did you use iPhone? No. I wouldn't be caught dead, honestly. Like, shout out to iPhones and their cameras now, but like, still, if I paid for this camera, you know what I'm saying? But so it's just crazy how like an iPhone photography class got me into shooting documentaries like about jiu-jitsu. Like, my very first documentary ever is called A Path Less Traveled, and it's essentially what the title is. It's the path less traveled. Like, not a lot of people are cut out for this, want to do it, or even make it to black belt. And I focused on 4 athletes in Oklahoma, and I basically followed them around, got their stories, and like, could the documentary have been better? Absolutely. Could the lighting have been better? The audio? Absolutely. But it was like, you know, A Path Less Traveled was like my baby, and it inspired little grapplers. So it's like, you just never know, honestly, where life is going to take you. Like, I remember being in that iPhone photography class being like, fuck this. I hate this.
Yeah.
And I dreaded going. And my professor, his name is Mark. Shout out to Mark. Mark had to message me all the time, being like, you missed the deadline for this project. I know you have it done. I watched you edit it. Just turn it in. And I'm like, but I hate this class so much. And I've actually never said that story out loud. So I hope he doesn't hear it. So he'll be like, how dare you?
I mean, that's to give you a passion in what you're doing currently. So, I mean, I bet he'll be super happy about it.
Probably, but he always made fun of me for like being late turning things in, and like he's like, you hated this class and now look at you. I'm like, I don't want you to be right, Mark, shut up. So.
But also like iPhone photography class, if they happen to have like now, I think Hazel.
Yeah, she's caught on the wall.
Get out of here.
You got on the cord.
But yeah, I was thinking like iPhone photography now would be awesome. I think
so too.
Yeah.
You know, and people, not everybody had an iPhone either, so it was like people were using like Androids and stuff as well. And
shout out to iPhone, yes.
Yeah, shout out to iPhone. I was like, shout out to who? I need to hear. But it was just. It also just shows how much like technology has changed as well, because he showed us comparison pictures of the literal same subject. It was like a Lego man like sitting on an apple, and he took a picture from the same perspective with a DSLR and an iPhone, and there was a significant difference.
Yeah.
And now with how far cameras have come on phones, I don't think anybody who doesn't know cameras will be able to tell the difference, honestly.
Yeah.
Which is so cool. So I think now in 2023, an iPhone class would be more beneficial.
Yeah. Sometimes like I go to event photography and stuff, and then I have to take like a group photo, right?
Yeah.
Then like I don't have that much white lens. Also, like it's not lighting is not that good. I just literally pull out my actual $5,000 camera with a $2,000 lens on, shoot it, but also I shoot it with my iPhone.
Yep, just in case.
I deliver those iPhone photos more than those situations because it's better.
Yeah, and you can, and with like I said, with how good phones are now with their cameras, it's like, I don't even have the newest iPhone, but my boyfriend does, and like you can change the exposure on there now.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, don't take my job.
Yeah,
iPhone.
They have like what's that called? Like a fight action mode or something.
Yeah.
That's just stabilized stuff. I mean, like as being a YouTuber and content creator, I mean, like it's nice because
it is nice.
It's like I don't have to have like a whole bunch of stuff, but sound stuff sucks. But anyways, I think it's awesome. I was gonna ask you. So 2018, right?
Yes.
That's 5 years ago.
Yes.
What were you doing in 2018?
2018.
You don't have to be that sad about it.
No, I mean, like, it was a rough time, honestly.
Really?
I was in a very physically abusive marriage.
Oh.
And I didn't feel...
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Like, I feel like I've healed enough to be able to talk about it. And... you know, I was living with a man that beat my ass every single day. And even when I tried to like go to jiu-jitsu, even I would go to jiu-jitsu knowing that when I got back home, it would be another fight. And life was not good in 2018. I was very depressed, stuck and sad. And, I'm not going to cry, but if I could go and tell myself something from 5 years ago, it would be like, hang on, like, you're going to get out of this. You will be okay. All the fighting that you're doing right now, mentally and physically, will make you so much stronger when you're 30 years old. And you'll have the wisdom beyond your years that you didn't even think that you could have. I would hug her and tell her, like, it's going to be okay. You're going to survive this. So, that's what I would tell myself 5 years ago. So.
Well, thanks for sharing. I mean, what got you out of that depression and what got you out of the dark times?
It sounds so corny, but like jiu-jitsu did, honestly. I remember the morning I left, I had to pretend that I had a job interview, because he had a job interview that morning. So he left, and I had to pretend that mine was a little bit later, which is why I wasn't going to work that day. And I literally packed up a box of everything that was important to me, and I put it in my car, and I looked at my phone, and I was like, noon class starts in 20 minutes. And I went straight to the gym, and I went straight to roll. Like, I left my abusive marriage and went straight to a jiu-jitsu class. And it was a different feeling knowing that I'm not going to go home and fight again. And I just felt different. Like, I remembered that first roll knowing that I left and being like, I rolled with freedom. I rolled more relaxed. I rolled, I still wasn't safe technically. I just left. I didn't really have a place to go. But I stepped in the gym and I started rolling, and I just immediately knew, like, if I fought through that and then I went straight to a jiu-jitsu class to physically fight some more, then everything's going to be okay. So
that is awesome.
Thanks.
Did you win that rolling?
I did. They were like, hey, what is wrong with you? And I was just like, I just left my husband. And then even like some of my teammates helped me go back and get the rest of my things. And it's like, I don't want to say you don't get that camaraderie anywhere, but I've never felt it like that anywhere else. Like, these are people that I like, like I know them and we're friends, and we're teammates, but it's like in the grand scheme of things, like I don't hang out with them outside of jiu-jitsu,
right? But
they still put themselves in that line of danger to help me leave that situation. So I felt like I won in a lot of different ways that day.
That is awesome. What about how do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully mentally healthier than I am now. I do feel pretty mentally healthy. Like, I've overcome a lot in my life. I just kind of want to gather more wisdom. I'm in a very healthy relationship now, so getting to explore that and open up in my own relationship a little bit more. Like leaving an abusive relationship, every time you think you're healed, you can heal more. And so it's been 5 years since I've left that. And, even 5 years from now, I feel like I'm going to learn even more about myself from that situation. So just hopefully a little bit more wise. And, I do want to do another docuseries about like people who have been in abusive relationships and found their way out through jiu-jitsu. So I know that's niche, but if it happened to me, it's happened to other people. And I want to get it out there, like, you can leave, you can survive this. And whether it's through jiu-jitsu or friendship or like maybe even religion, it's kind of like, you can survive this. You can fight, you can get through it. So hopefully 5 years from now, I'm into that docuseries and I'm helping women or men leave situations that are dangerous. So that's kind of the goal in the next 5 years.
That is awesome.
Thanks.
I hope to watch that docuseries.
Thanks. Hope you do too.
But how can people support you? How can people like check out your stuff?
Yeah. So my YouTube channel is just my first and last name. It's Mac, M-A-C, no K. We're getting straight to the point. No extra letters. My last name is Coplin, C-O-P-L-I-N. And my jiu-jitsu photography Instagram is mac.bjjphotos. And that's where I post all of my docuseries updates, where I'm going to be shooting, what tournaments I'm going to be at. I also currently work for Pikes Peak Grappling, which is just local tournaments in Colorado Springs. So like if I'm going to be there, if I'm teaching a seminar, that's where to follow me.
Sounds good. Well, thanks so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me. This is great.
That was fun. And then thank you guys for watching this episode. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and then comment something you learn or cheer up Mac's journey. And then if you're listening to any streaming platform for podcasts like Spotify, iTunes, or something like that, give me 5 stars. Pretty sure do something good for me.
5 stars for sure.
Yeah, 5 stars, please. But I guess we'll see you guys the next Friday. Peace.